everyone, it's Michele from Scrap Secrets, and this is my submission for the Crafty Hop Case the Fellow Creator. I'm casing Terra O'Brien from Mayham Crafty Cards, and here's my submission. In a second, you will see hers that was my inspiration. All her information will be listed below in the more information section, so be sure to check her out. So today we're going to be making a slimline card, which is 7.5 by 8 3/4 folded in half. We're going to be using the MFT cloud stencil, as well as 3 of the Honeybee Stamps Freebie B stamps that I stamped in Gina K Designs amalgam ink, and then colored in with Copic markers and fussy cut by hand, which I don't normally do. So now I'm going to be using the 1-layer card, the slimline card, and using my Distress Oxides to ink up the stencil. Now, Terra used the oxides as well as the inks. I had all the colors in oxide, so I did case the exact same colors as she had, but I used Distress Oxide. So the colors that I used were Wilted Violet, Picked Raspberry, Ripe Persimmon, Squeezed Lemonade, Mermaid Lagoon, Seedless Preserves, Spun Sugar, and then you'll see I repeated 3 colors after that. Ripe Persimmon, Squeezed Lemonade, and then I added a color that Terra didn't include in the very bottom of hers. I had some real estate at the bottom, so I decided to add a little bit of the Mermaid Lagoon because on my card there was only 1 blue, which I think was the same as hers. She only had 1 blue. There was space down at the bottom, and I also thought it needed an additional pop of blue because the blue looked out of place on my card. There's 2 purples, 2 pinks, orange is repeated twice, yellow is repeated twice. So I thought the blue just needed to be in there just to balance out my card. So what I'm doing is just using the stencil and placing it down, inking up on the stencil, and then pulling that ink up onto the card. Now the difference between my card and Terra's card is that she pulled the ink up a lot further than I did. If I was going to redo this card, I would do more like her card is and pull the ink up a little bit higher. I really kind of just stayed to where the edge of the stencil was and didn't pull the color up very much. So I think her clouds came out better than mine, but this is the first time that I've really done something like this. I used this stencil once before and I wasn't crazy about the way it turned out because I used the same color pink. And I don't know, I didn't love the way it came out, but I do like the way Terra's card came out. This is a big stretch for me. The colors that she used, it being a 1-layer card and using Distress Oxide really made me nervous because you'll see I keep lifting up the card to check the back of it like I just did there because I am the messiest crafter around, and I was so afraid that I would get ink on the back of the card and then I wouldn't be able to use it and it wouldn't be a 1-layer card anymore like hers. So I was very, very cognizant of making sure I cleaned everything up really, really well. So we're just going to put all of the colors down. Like I said, I really went on the stencil and I tried to pull it up. I would pull it up a little bit further. The purple that I just did, the Seedless Preserves, is probably the one that I pulled up the most, and I think I like that one the most. It has the most color to it. So if you notice, I am not only using the 4 sides of the stencil, just turning it around, but then flipping it over from the front to the back so that you get a different variation. I felt like there was a lot of white space on the right side of the card and not so much on the left. The clouds were a lot closer together on the left side. So once I flipped over the stencil from the front to the back, the clouds were reversed from where they were, and I felt like it balanced it out a little bit more. So there's a lot of white on the right top, and there's a lot more white on the bottom left hand side when the card's all done. So this was just a messy process for me. I do have Distress Oxide all over my hands, and I think I even show you my hands. At one point I have blue Distress Oxide from Mermaid Lagoon all over myself. Like I said, I am a messy crafter, so I love inking and I love getting messy, but I just hate when it's 1-layer cards because I always feel like I mess it up and then I can't make it a 1-layer card. So I was trying very, very hard to keep everything nice and clean and wipe everything up when I was done, as you can see. So there's going to be 2 more layers to this, the Squeeze Lemonade and then the Mermaid Lagoon. And I am using makeup brushes that I got off of Amazon. I have 2 different kinds. So they're just very inexpensive makeup brushes that you can get off of Amazon, and I find that they work really, really well. I'm also using a Norwex microfiber cloth to wipe off the stencil, and when I actually once I'm finished all of this, I will wipe off my brushes on that same microfiber cloth, and then after a while I'll throw it in the wash so that the stains won't come out, but it'll get clean so that I can wipe it. See, there I go. I showed you the back is actually clean after all of that. I was so happy that I didn't get ink all over the back of the card. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen and go in between the clouds with the pen to just put a little bit of sparkle and shine. Now, Terra used something, it was like a sparkle paint or sparkle paste, not a paste, it was like a paint kind of thing. I think she even used a paintbrush and brushed it on the clouds. So I decided to use the Spectrum Noir pen to add sparkle on that. And there's Fred. I did not even realize that he had popped his head up. He was laying down and taking a nap. So I guess he just wanted to be part of the video today. So unusual. He doesn't usually like to be part of videos, but that's Fred. So I added the sparkle, and you can't really see it here, but in person, it's a really nice shine. So the next thing that I wanted to do was take out my Misty, and I wanted to do the sentiment. Terra's sentiment was about friends and friendship. So I went through my stash and I found a honeybee stamp set that I haven't used yet called Friend. And I wanted to stamp on the front of it, "Thank you for being a wonderful." And then on the inside, I wanted it to say friend. It's a big friend scripty word. So I didn't want that on the front because she kind of had a dainty sentiment on the front, so I wanted that to be the front to be a little bit more dainty. So I was lining up the 3 sentiments because it's in 3 different pieces. The first one just says "thank you for," second sentiment says "being a," and then the third sentiment says "wonderful." Honeybee Stamps has some of the best sentiment building stamps I've ever seen. So if you guys are looking for ones where you can be very creative and build your own sentiments, their sentiment stamps are fantastic for that. They usually have one central word and then a bunch of different phrases that you can make including that word. So I'm also using Gina K Designs Amalgam ink to ink up the sentiment, and it comes out really pretty. The Distress Oxide was not really dry, so I had to stamp the U several times. The U is really the only word that's in the Distress Oxide, so it just didn't come out clean and crisp the first couple times that I did it. Now I'm going to stamp Friend on the inside of the card. This is the first time I've ever used this stamp set, so I didn't get off the film really well because the ink beads up on this. I should have wiped my hand over it a little bit or ran an eraser over it just to kind of get that film off. When you have new stamps, there's usually a little remnants of like a film or something from manufacturing on it. It's not a defect of the stamp. The stamp is not defective. It's nothing like that. It just kind of has a film on it. So usually I rub my hands over it or use an eraser to kind of get that off there so you get a really nice impression. But it just means I had to ink it up a couple times and stamp it. I think I inked it up 3 times to make sure that it got a nice, clean, crisp image on there. So that was the interior stamping, and shockingly I didn't get any black ink anywhere else because you see it's folded. The card was hanging out, and usually I'll get ink somewhere. So the last thing that I'm going to do is take my Zig 2-way glue pen and glue these bees down. Now you'll notice I go and pick up several of them. I have these ones that are lying around that I use for repositionable masks for things when I cut things out. So I have one that is actually blue. The glue is blue, which means that it's permanent glue, and the other ones are still repositionable. So I put the bees on there, and that is the whole entire card. So that's the card that I cased from Terra's. I'm so excited. I hope that you go over and check out her card. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below. And I'll see you guys again real soon for another video.